my microphone today. Hopefully this doesn't mess with the sound too bad. I think it should be fine. I just wanted to sit a little bit further back from my desk today. Not be, locked down to sitting so close. So I wanted to hold the microphone here and talk into him, but I've gotten some requests to do Storytime videos, ASMR Storytime videos. So I thought, you know what, let's do a Storytime today. I was looking through some old pictures on my Facebook. My Facebook has been deactivated since like 2015, 2016 or so. But just the other day I decided to reactivate my Facebook. And I was going through and looking at some old pictures. And I saw some pictures from the summer of 2012. And I got to talking about my girlfriend, about the crazy things that happened that summer, and then kind of less about that summer, but more about the people involved in that summer for me, and the way my relationships evolved with those people. And that gave me the idea, like, that would make, there we go, there's my ASMR Storytime video. So I'm calling this the summer of 2012, but really it's more about people and relationships and how people change, and basically that you never really know what's gonna happen or what you're in for. So a little bit of background. I'm gonna be changing the names of everybody in this story. The main people involved are, of course, myself, my girlfriend at the time. We're gonna call her Alyssa. We'll give her the name Alyssa. One of my best friends at the time, we're gonna give him the name Chris. And his girlfriend, we'll give her the name Samantha. Again, all fake names. So Chris and I met in 2011 when I was a junior in high school and he was a senior in high school. And we had a video class. So my high school had the best video production program in my region of the state, Southwest Washington. We had a broadcast studio that did daily, school news broadcasts live, and the students ran the broadcast. So the students were the presenters. They ran the cameras, they ran the switchboard, did graphics, all that stuff, and this all went out live over a local Comcast channel. And then we also did live broadcasts of all the high school sports. And so my high school diploma, I have a high school diploma with a special focus in video production and broadcasting, right? And this was a 2.5-hour block of classes, whereas the usual class was like an hour 15, so it was 2 periods of classes in the same block, so it took up 2 periods of my day, and I did that all 4 years of high school. And Chris joined the advanced class. The first year was video 1. It was a 1-hour class. And then if you were in video 1 and you did a good job, you could petition the teacher to be upgraded to video 2, which was the 2-hour class. And they did the live broadcast and stuff, but you had to get permission from the teacher. It was like an AP class. And then there's video 3, which I did my senior year, but that sucked. So I did video 1 my freshman year, and then video 2 my sophomore and junior year, and then video 3 my senior. My friend Chris, he did video 1 his junior year, and then his first year of video 2 was his senior year, my junior year, which was my second year of video 2. Anyway, I met him in that class, and we quickly became really good friends in a friend group of 4, one of which I'm still really good friends with. He was my former roommate. The other 2 fallen away a bit, but so we were always hanging out. Like, we would hang out after school all the time. We would get into crazy shenanigans, and we were good and bad things. You know what high school kids get up to, especially those last couple of years in high school. But we were partying, we were hanging out, like we were inseparable, the 4 of us, after school, all that stuff. My senior year, 2012, he had graduated. Obviously, Chris had graduated. And he was still living at home at the time, but he had started talking to Samantha. He met her online. The one we'll call Samantha. She lived in San Diego. We didn't really know too much about her, but he had been talking about her with us and stuff. And she was gonna come fly out and meet him and us and stuff, and she did. She flew out and met all of us. We hung out with her. She was, nice enough, very, sort of a outgoing, very giving personality. But he was keeping it a secret from his family because his parents didn't really approve. He was raised in a very Christian conservative family. They wanted him to, wait until marriage, marry a good religious, pious pious woman, all that stuff. He was never really that religious, and they did not approve always of him dating some random woman from San Diego. So he kept her a bit of a secret from his family. And then, he came to us after she left. She flew back home to San Diego. And Chris came to us, and he was like, hey, she bought me a ticket to San Diego, and, I'm flying out, so, we skipped school one of the days, my other friend and I, my good friend and I, and we skipped school, went to Chris's house while his parents were away, and his sister was in our year, so his sister was in school, his parents were at work. We packed a couple suitcases of his stuff, and we gave him a drive. We gave him a ride to the airport. We drove him to the airport, and he flew down to San Diego to go live with her. Completely, a secret to his family, everything. He just disappeared one day. Sorry to clear my throat. Yeah, he just disappeared. Flew down to San Diego. As far as they were concerned, they didn't know where he went. His sister tried to get us expelled because I think she found out we helped him move, after he had arrived in San Diego. Like, he texted his sister saying, okay, I'm alive, I just moved, like, all this stuff. Like, his sister's upset about it, he gets expelled from school, yada yada, whatever. Fast forward the end of 2012, I have graduated from high school. Our graduation was in June, so it's like June, summertime now. My birthday is in August, so Chris messages me and says like, hey, you and Alyssa, my girlfriend at the time, should fly down to San Diego and come hang out with us and like spend a couple weeks down here. So towards the end of August time, just graduate high school. Like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Yeah, why not? I don't have anything better to do. So we flew down to San Diego, and we were staying with him and Samantha. And I had been talking to him still for a while, but this was the first like extended time that I had spent with her. things. She was adopted into an extremely wealthy family. So they owned a house in San Diego. Her parents owned a massive estate in Calabasas that she took us to while we were down there. Multiple houses on the property, tennis court, I think like 2 or 3 swimming pools, one of which was an Olympic swimming pool. Her dad had like 4 different Ferraris in the garage, one of which was an Enzo, like a very wealthy family. Years later, because we were, years later I would go with her when she turned 21. She went to go get her inheritance check, and it was 8 figures. I'm not gonna say the exact number, but it was 8 figures, her inheritance check when she turned 21, so a lot of money. But everything was normal at first. Now, Chris had struggled with drug addiction for a big part of his high school life, because of his upbringing and his family and him being so different from them. He felt very ostracized. He smoked a lot of weed, like basically every day he was smoking weed. And he would do this thing called robo-tripping, which, he would just go around and like buy 4 or 5 bottles of Robitussin and like drink them all at the same time. He was obsessed. I don't know if you've heard of Alice in Wonderland syndrome, but it's like this extremely rare medical condition where people basically think they're trapped in, Neverland. But basically, it's like a psychological break where people think they're trapped in the world of Alice in Wonderland, a very specific, very rare medical condition. And he was like obsessed with this. Like he wanted to trigger it in himself. And he used to like make tea out of morning glory seeds, and he would smoke datura, all this stuff really bad, like bad stuff. But I was kind of noticing he was like starting to get a little bit better since being with Samantha, so that was good. And this was around the time that medical marijuana was legal in California, but recreational wasn't. In recreational marijuana, I think California was like the only state with any amount of legal weed, and it was just medical. So, I smoked a decent amount of weed in high school. But this was all back, still black market back in the day. I was buying it out of the back of somebody's Jeep, like $20 here, $40 here. You never knew what you were getting, how good it was. So I went down to California to visit him, and he had the medical grade stuff, and it was messing me up. Like there were days where I was just like, I was 2-3 hits out of a bong, and I was like, man, I don't even know where I am right now. My girlfriend at the time, Alyssa, she actually had a really bad panic attack because of it. Like it was just way too strong for her. But I'm trying to think. So there, one of the days when we go up and we visit her family in Calabasas, we went to Disneyland. And that, we did 2 days in Disneyland, and we stayed at the Disneyland hotel. Obviously his girlfriend paid for all this stuff. This was kind of the first indication of how much money she had before we had seen her family's house, obviously. And the next day after Disneyland, we were back in San Diego, and we were going down to this restaurant down at the pier. It was like out on a dock, this floating restaurant. And before we went, my friend Chris came to me. He's like, hey, I have some LSD. Do you want to do it? And I had never done acid before. I'd never done any psychedelics before that point. I'd always wanted to try it. I was like, you know what? I'll do 1 dab. I'll do 1. Why not? I'm not like this anymore, but this, back at this point in my life, I was just like, let's get weird with it, let's get wild. And I took it, I didn't feel anything. It'd been like an hour, and I hadn't noticed anything. There's no hallucinations, nothing. I was like, this is kind of weird. Alright, let's go to dinner. So go to dinner on the dock. We're sitting there at the table, I order my food, still not feeling anything. They bring our food out, still not feeling anything. I take my first bite of my meal. I think it was like some sort of chicken pasta or something. And as I'm swallowing, that's when it hits right there. And I can feel the food going down my esophagus into my stomach. Like I can actually feel it. And I think that sensation just triggered it. And immediately it was just like, and everything was wrong. Everything was bad. We were sitting there in the restaurant, and like I said, we had just been at Disneyland the day before. And I was convinced that everyone in that restaurant around me was an audio animatronic. I was convinced of it. I thought they were all animatronics from Disneyland. I was sitting there and looking around, and I was like, none of these people are real. And it was like all of their voices, all of their conversations were like all converging into my ears at the same time. And it was just like a wall of sound hitting me that I couldn't handle. And I was like, I need to get out of here, so I stood up. And to leave, like there's a hallway out to the exit. And the hallway, it felt like just went on forever and ever and ever. There was a family sitting like on a bench at the midway point between the restaurant door and the door out to the pier. And I can still remember I was walking towards the door, and it just felt like the hallway was stretching, and I felt like I was getting no closer to the family. And then all of a sudden it was like boom, I was past them. Like a rubber band almost. It was really weird. And I went out and I sat on the dock and I just stared out at the water for like 2 hours. And they all finished their meal. They came out and grabbed me, and I came down. I was okay after that, but that actually triggered in me because I used to not have I suffer from general anxiety disorder and panic attack disorders, and I didn't used to until I had that trip, that really bad trip. And my doctor actually thinks that the bad acid trip actually created the panic attack and anxiety disorder in my brain. So that's fun. And thankfully, it's gotten a lot better. I used to have a panic attack every single day for nearly 5 years. Now I have 1 or 2 a year, and I'm really good at combating them and bringing myself back down to earth. But for 5 years there, I was having a panic attack every single day, and it was really affecting my life. I couldn't hold down a job because there's a couple times I worked at Adidas for a while in the warehouse, and I would be there unboxing shoes or sorting through something, and a panic attack would just hit me like a tsunami, like a hurricane, and I'd have to leave, and it really impacted my life a lot. And come to find out that it was actually homemade acid that he had made, so I thought he had bought it from somebody or whatever. No, he tried making it himself. So right there, honestly, it should have been a red flag. I never should have done it. That was a learning moment for me. But all of that is to say, that's mainly the summer bit, but I said this is mainly a story about people and how people change, and how you never can really trust anybody. So, that was right after my graduation in 2012. Over the course of the rest of 2012 through 2013, a lot of things sort of happened. So, I'm talking to Chris pretty much, not every day, but 2-3 times so he can come talking to him. And he came to me, and he was like super excited. He's like, hey, Samantha's dad, he pulled some strings and got me in at UCLA. Because her dad was a graduate of the UCLA Film School. And Chris always wanted to be a director or work in Hollywood. So he said, hey, her dad got me in at UCLA, and he pulled some strings, and he got me in, and he's paying for my full tuition. All 4 years her dad's paying. So I was like, I was pretty jealous at the time. I didn't handle it well, emotionally I wasn't, extremely strong. So what it was going to be is that he was actually going to be, living up in LA, going to UCLA Film School, and then, staying in a dorm or apartment, I'm not sure how it works up there, during the school year, and then going back down and living in him and Samantha's house in San Diego when school holidays, breaks, whatever. So I was talking to him about that. I was talking to him as he was like going through the process of like moving up there. And obviously he's just had like his entire future handed to him like on a silver platter. Like if you graduate UCLA Film School, you might not be a director, you might not be whatever, but you will work in Hollywood. You can be a PA, you can be an AD, like you can do something on a film set, even if it's not, the tippity top. So I was talking to him as he moved in up there, as he was getting situated. He went to, then the turn happens. He went to one class, he was up there for 2 weeks, moved back down to San Diego permanently, never went to another class. So like I said, he was handed his future on a silver platter there, threw it all away basically, moved and dropped out of UCLA Film School, and really damaged his relationship with Samantha's father a lot, obviously, because the guy obviously did some things to get him in there and was paying his full tuition plus housing. Threw that all away, moved back down to live with her in San Diego. And that's when I really started to feel the strain in him and I's relationship, because I was really upset with him. Obviously I was like jealous of the opportunity he had, but I was like very upset with him, how he just threw it away. I was like, you're an idiot, like, what are you doing? Like, and he became really reclusive. He, at their house, they had like a little like alcove thing, kind of separate from the rest of the house. It was like behind a wall, like the kind of sunken thing. He was in there basically all day, just smoking weed, like listening to music, like doing nothing basically. And I was just so frustrated with him. I was like, dude, what are you doing? But like, I was still talking to her fairly regularly, Sam, and like, her and I were pretty good friends, and him and I, I was still friends with him, even though I was like upset with him. And she was talking about how she really liked it when she came and visited him back in 2012, 2011. And so she was looking at buying a house up in Southwest Washington, Portland area. So they came back up to visit. Both of them, they found a house they really like, and she ended up buying it there, and they moved from San Diego back up to where, we were living, where he was originally, just maybe like 20 minutes south of his parents' house where he went to high school and stuff. So I was like, alright, he's back here, like, I'm starting to see them more, talk to them more. I'm still upset with them for what happened with the film school thing. But I was like, alright, I can forgive him, like, they're here now, we can start moving past, maybe. And we started hanging out with them a lot more. But as we're spending more time with Chris and Samantha, things just kind of get weird. Like, where in hindsight I can look back now and I can recognize a lot of the red flags, but when you're in the moment you don't see it. And Samantha, I don't want to say was, she is, but I mean I haven't talked to her in years at this point, but she was master manipulator, very, to the point where you didn't realize it was happening. I didn't realize it at the time. They move in, and she starts going to nursing school, and she starts going through some very dramatic changes, physically, because when we first met her in 2011, she wasn't, I don't want to say she was overweight, that's not correct, but she was a little bit on the, thicker side, you would say. We visited in 2012 summer. She was healthy, healthy looking, a little bit slimmer, but not bad. By this point, she is probably 80 pounds, and she's less than 5 feet tall. And clearly at this time, we probably should have recognized there was something wrong, but again, this is where the manipulation part comes in. She is telling us that, she told us that she had some, like, polyps or ulcers or something on her stomach, so they had to remove part of her stomach. Well, truth be told, what comes out is that she just got that stomach band surgery to help her lose weight. And then she was also telling us later that she had cancer, which was not true. She was lying about having cancer, and she was like doing things. She had a port put in her arm and things like that, but she never actually had cancer. It was like, people talk about Munchausen's by proxy, but it was almost like a Munchausen's by self. Like, she went to nursing school, and then she was like learning about all of these things that could be wrong, and then she was almost like applying them to herself. Now, at this point, they both start cheating on each other, but we only know about what he was doing at the time. So Chris started, Samantha flew back to LA to go spend time with her parents for a weekend. And during this time, Chris had one of his high school flings over, since he was now closer back to home, and had an affair with her. Samantha comes home. She finds proof that he had cheated on her. And so we go over, and she breaks up with them, and we're helping him like pack his stuff up and move his stuff out. And during this process, she's like showing us all this stuff of his, like to kind of paint this really bad picture of him. Now, a lot of it was real, like all the affairs and stuff, that was real. And like he obviously was, he was taking advantage of her to a degree. But another friend of ours later finds out that a lot of this stuff is fabricated. And another friend of ours who knew Samantha figures out that she used to go to school and she would like put fake bruises and stuff on her face and arms to like make people think something was wrong or she was hurt, to like get attention. So, but anyways, we help Chris move out, and he kind of disappears for a while, goes off grid. I don't hear from him because the way things ended with him and Sam, like, and because of like how she was manipulative, we kind of like took her side, even though we later figured out that when she flew out to Calabasas to visit her family, she was actually flying out to have an affair with another guy, but that's neither here nor there. So we're still kind of friends with Sam. I haven't talked to Chris in a long time. And another friend of ours from high school who didn't know her until her and Chris moved back is getting like really close with her. But she messages me and she starts talking about like weird things she's noticing. So Sam is in her nursing program, and apparently she's been nurses in the program, like one of the teachers. And this guy is not good news. He's a part of a pretty notorious motorcycle gang in the area. And, we don't have proof of this, but there's a few times where she said she, like, passed out or fainted, which, due to her weight loss, she would sometimes do. But there are certain ones where we look at it, we're like, did he hit her? But then also, like, because of her past with, like, putting the fake bruises on herself, you're also like, or does she want us to think that? And she had this obsession with Lana Del Rey, and, like, she wanted to, like, have this tragic life. Very interesting, I don't know. But, what happens, and this is where things get really weird. This has been very meandering, I should have written this out first, but she comes to us and she tells us that she found her birth family, because she was adopted, right? She tells us that she found her birth family, and that she has 3 brothers. She's the only girl in this birth family. Now, she doesn't post any pictures with them, and that's kind of the first time that I kind of get, cause she's saying she's gonna go meet them. This whole thing's like, I'm gonna go meet my birth family. But what she does is, these 3 Instagram profiles for her brothers show up. And just to ruin the surprise, she fabricated all of this. Now, she had done it, she'd been planning this for years though, because these profiles had pictures going back like 3-4 years. And then when she flew out to meet them, she posted pictures of the 3 guys from the profiles, but she wasn't in any of them, and they weren't together in any of them. It was just like them doing something, and her saying like, oh, we did these things. And then those 3 profiles that were her brothers, they were posting pictures of her, but again, they're not with her. It's just her doing things, and the captions are like, oh, my sister, blah blah blah, all this stuff. So we start getting suspicious. And my friend and I, we start doing a little bit of research. We go through the Instagram profiles of her 3 brothers, and we screenshot the pictures, run them through a reverse image search. All of them come up as pictures taken from modeling websites. Now you could say, okay, maybe all 3 of her brothers are models, as unlikely as that is. But they have names attached to the pictures. It tells you the name of the model. And, obviously a different name than she's saying her brother's names are. So we kind of put that information in our pocket. We're like, that's interesting. Let's hold on to that. And then, we found, now this is where it gets interesting, we found a profile of her under a different name. I don't know if she just got sloppy or something, but it was a profile following one of her fake brother profiles. And it had her pictures, and it was all private, so we couldn't see the pictures, but the profile picture was her, but it had a different name. It was like her name just spelled like slightly different. Imagine Samantha with like 2 N's or something, or 2 M's. Obviously it's not her real name, but that's how similar it was. And then we do a Google search of that name, and we found a website that is purporting to be a reporter living in New York City. And this website is like, I think it was called like, I'm not gonna say the name of the website because it still exists. But we found this website, and it's, the way the website's presented is it's a woman that's a photographer and reporter living in New York City, and she's like journaling people's lives. And there are 4 stories, well there's 5 total stories, 4 of them, I don't know, they could very well be, well they're all fake, I'm pretty sure they're all fake, but I can't prove that the first 4 are fake. But the 5th one is an interview with Samantha under her fake name that we discovered. And we thought that was very interesting. So we go and we're reading it's all fake. Cause she's talking about things that happened certain years that either we knew because we were with her or whatever. She was talking about being kidnapped and held ransom the year that we were down there in San Diego visiting her, summer of 2012. She was talking about how all of her life she had been this skinny, tiny girl, and that's why people would prey on her. Again, not true. So it's this completely fabricated story about her life, to the point where we can't prove this, but it's very likely that she invented this fake journalist photographer character, then fabricated 4 fake stories about presumably fake people to lend some credence then to the fake interview of her semi-alter ego persona. So we now have 3 brothers that don't exist, that she's but she's still keeping up the charade, and those fake profiles are commenting on her pictures and her stuff, but it's all just her. And then we also have this fake journalist character, and we're how do we confront her about this? How do we even bring this up? Because it's just crazy, right? How do you even broach that subject? And we don't know how she figured it out, but somehow she figured out that we had caught on, because like I said, we were pretty close friends. Even after that we figured out the brothers thing, I wasn't hanging out with her a lot, but birthdays we'd see her, we'd go over there maybe once a month. She lived pretty nearby. We were part of a dog group, so we would see her at the dog meetups and stuff. And by this point the biker gang guy had moved in with her, and I don't know how she found out. Somehow she figured out that we figured it out, and one day she blocked us on everything, all of us. Me, Alyssa, who at this point I was no longer dating, but I still talked to her a little bit. That's another story, actually. I almost forgot about that. Our mutual friend that figured out all this stuff that she was lying about, she blocked all of us, sold her house, and moved to Texas. Overnight, just disappeared off the face of the earth. Now she's a social media influencer, because I can see her Instagram profile. I'm blocked on her main one, but if I go to other friends' accounts or whatever, I can see her account. I can see she has a lot of followers, and she looks radically different now. She's had a lot of plastic surgery. She is just a completely different person. What's funny is, my girlfriend now, I haven't talked to Samantha in probably since 2017. I haven't talked to Samantha, maybe even a little bit longer. My current girlfriend and I started dating in 2022. She blocked her on Instagram, so she's somehow keeping tabs on us years later, and cutting off any sort of way we can find out information about her, or keep up with what she's been doing, because she's that paranoid about us releasing this knowledge we have about this fake life she's created. Because she blocked my current girlfriend, who she's never met. I haven't talked to her in years, but she's kept up, kept tabs on everyone to the point where she can try and keep us from seeing her. It was very interesting, very bizarre behavior. But to go back to Alyssa, so part of the reason we broke up, there was a Halloween party actually, and Samantha this up. This isn't a YouTube story. This isn't a YouTube story. Anyways, sorry. And then years later, by 2018, Chris resurfaced out of the blue. Messages me. I hadn't heard from him in years. He kind of fell off the face of the earth after the whole thing, and him and I started talking again, and he seemed better. Chris seemed better. I was like, hey man, let's meet up. And so we met up, and we were just walking around town, just talking, catching up. And I was telling him all the crazy stuff I found out about Samantha. Now, when I knew Chris, he obviously had a lot of issues. But I think deep down he was a good person. He had good intentions. He just was very lost, very misguided. He had a lot of trauma in his past. Now I'm not going to try and get political here, but so in the lead up to the 2016 election, my friend Chris was, well, obviously not 2016 because I wasn't talking at that point, but before that he was a very left-wing person. He was a very left-wing person when I knew him. He was very worried about the dangers of climate change. He was, talking about really big into like left-wing culture issues. He was very anti-religion, anti-conservatism, things like that. When I finally meet up with him again, 2017, 2018, it must have been. He's a very different person. Again, he seemed normal on the surface. I was like, let's hang out. But over the course of our conversation, he's telling me that he found God again. Okay, he grew up in a very abusive religious household, but I was thinking maybe now he's found, a healthier relationship with religion, you can have a healthy relationship with religion. It's not a bad thing. I'm not anti-religion at all. But he has gone full evangelical, and we were talking about politics a little bit, because I was a poli-sci major. I was just getting into it at the time. And, he was telling me, oh man, like I voted for Trump. Now again, very left-wing person. I knew him voting for Trump already kind of like, oh, interesting. But then he's like, but I think he's too weak. He doesn't go far enough. I was like, that's a shocking revelation there, sir. And he was getting very hardcore, like way out of the mainstream right-wing police. He was saying like, basically America needs to become a Christian ethno-state. He was, climate change is fake. God would not, allow that. If bad things are happening, it's punishment for sin, stuff like this, like full 180. Come to find out, he'd also gotten addicted to meth. He didn't tell me that, and he was living with a woman who looked shockingly similar to Samantha, like spitting image. But she did meth and heroin and sold meth and heroin. And so after that interaction, after that day, all those things happened, I got contact again. I haven't spoken to him since, and the last I heard from him, he went to prison for stealing a pickup truck. Probably not prison, right, jail, but the last thing I saw from him was that he stole a truck and was in jail. So, kind of a long, meandering tale. Like I said, summer of 2012, but it's more about people, and you can't really trust people. You never know where they're going to end up, and you have to always, I'm not sure what the lesson is here. Maybe there's a lesson that can be sussed out here. Always be vigilant, perhaps. Always, always be aware of the people around you. Don't trust blindly, perhaps. But that's a little bit of my ASMR story time. Maybe not the most interesting story, but hopefully it was at least relaxing for you guys. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more content just like this almost every single day. And until next time, guys. Bye bye.